everyone, and welcome to our webinar. My name is Justine Chappell, the Communications and Marketing Manager for ZAPP. Today, I'm going to share 5 tools in ZAPP that will help you prepare for your upcoming event, if that's something you do have upcoming. I know we're getting into our big festival season here. These tips are geared towards workflows that would happen after your jury and before your event begins. However, a lot of what I show you can apply to pretty much any time you're using ZAPP. The first tip or tool I'm going to go over today is how to organize your applications, or at this point, they'd be more of your artists and vendors using application statuses, tags, and flags. At this stage, when you're getting ready for an event, you may be really paying attention to certain things and need to organize your account in a certain way. So let's head into ZAPP, and I'll pull up the event we're using today. And, as you're getting ready for your event, you might be paying attention to just a few different statuses, but I'm going to kind of give an overview and some tips about many of the different ones here. So at this stage, a lot of artists might be in the invited status, maybe even the accepted and confirmed statuses, because as you're getting closer to the event, artists are paying for their booth fees, accepting their invitations, and so on. So you'll just want to really pay attention to the different statuses and making sure that as updates happen, you change artists into different statuses as needed. So for example, we have some artists in the confirmed status here. Maybe you're also keeping a wait list. So you'll want to, for example, if someone were to withdraw from the confirmed status or withdraw from the event, you would remove them from confirmed and change their status to maybe withdrawn, and then change your wait list folks, whoever's up next, to the confirmed status, or even maybe the accepted status or invited status. If they're invited, if they're in the accepted status, or if they're in their confirmed status, they will all be able to pay any booth fees or products. So it's important to know that, no matter what status they're in, depending on where they are in the workflow on their side, whether they're accepting the invitation or just going forward to pay their booth fee, it doesn't matter if they're in invited, accepted, or confirmed, they do have the ability to purchase booth fees or additional products. The exempt from jury status, I do want to highlight, maybe you have some artists that were exempt from the jury and are invited back for the next year. Just don't forget about them in ZAPP. Be sure to put them, in the invited status if they do need to go in and, and accept their invitation, pay the booth fees, etc. Or if they're, they don't need to pay anything, they just need to show up to the event, you can put them in a confirmed so that they are still getting the messages you're sending to the confirmed status artists, and that they're, still in that same group and they're part of that number of confirmed artists you have for your event. And that's pretty much it about the statuses you might need for getting ready for your event. However, I do want to take this opportunity to answer a frequently asked question about the incomplete and exception status. So I know this might be not applicable to this stage in which you're, getting ready for the event. But when you are finishing up the application process, artists might come to you and ask to make a change or a modification to their application. And if that happens before the deadline, if they reach out to you or if they reach out to the ZAPP team before the deadline, you can put them in the incomplete status, and that enables the artist to make modifications to their application. But if it's after the deadline, or if maybe they didn't enter their changes before the deadline, they will instead need to be put into the exception status. So the exception status is used after the application deadline, and the incomplete status is used before the application deadline. And it's important to note here that when an artist goes into the incomplete status and they make a change to their application, they'll be able to submit the changes and resubmit their application, and it will go to the received status automatically. If they are in the exception status and they make the modification after the deadline, there's a difference there in that they have to make the changes, but then let you know that they're done making those changes, in which case you'd have to move them manually from the exception status to either the receive status, or maybe this is happening, after the jury process and they're just updating their application and their info. You would put them in whatever status they were in before, whether that be confirmed or invited or whatever that is. So just know that in the exception status, when you're using that, to allow artists to make changes, you have to manually move them out of the exception status whenever they're done. And I guess one other status we can mention is the other status. This one can be used for situations where you need to separate an artist or a group of artists from the main batch for whatever reason you might need to be. It's pretty a miscellaneous category, but I just want to, reiterate to remember to move them back out of the other status so that they're in a different status, if that change is temporary. Just to keep things organized, you can use different statuses to separate the groups, but just make sure that ahead of your event you are putting those together and reorganizing them back into whichever group they need to be in. So that's a little bit about using statuses to organize your applications and artists. I do also want to mention the benefit of using something like tags. So tags are used to make short notes about an artist or categorize groups of artists a certain way. And you can even filter the applications table here by tags. So it kind of helps you organize entries, separate them, pull reports based on them, email artists based on certain tags, and further on. So it is something that can help you with your organization. And so tags, you can do it from the table editor here or from the table. You can also do it within the application itself. And you would just create a tag by entering a short phrase in the create tag box here. Again, it could be whatever you might need to use it for. Maybe you have certain people that are going to be mentors for emerging artists at your event, and you want to create that tag to identify those folks. So you might put something like, mentor as a tag, and if you add that, I guess that's, I had a space in there. You can add that tag there, and then they'll be tagged as such. When you are ready to, use that tag as a way to organize the entries and pull like certain lists, you can head to the filter applicants by section and make sure you're choosing the tags filter. Let's get rid of the other filter here. And then you can filter by the specific tags. I might need to refresh here so that our tag, our new tag mentor, I can select by that and search by it, and then that would pull up the list of everyone that has the same tag as mentor. And this allows me then to, download the contacts list if I wanted to download just their emails, or, publish the list of names, first names and last names of those who will be the mentors. And I'll show you later when we're emailing artists how you can email just specifically based on tags. So that might be something that you choose to do. But it can be for whatever reason, maybe it's more about you're tagging artists that are renting certain equipment from you or still owe you paperwork, and you can always, remove a tag. Just click that tag X there to remove that tag, and that would remove it, and just kind of lets you organize and segment your list that way. Another thing similar to tags are flags. So on the left-hand side of the table, you can flag an application. And this is pretty similar to tags in that you can filter for flags. You can, add that filter up in here and show, flagged or unflagged applicants. And you can pull those reports based on that list. You can email flagged applicants as a separate group. But the difference is obviously that a flag is just a flag. So you're either selecting it or deselecting it, and as opposed to tags that are, you're able to label a certain way. But that can be used for, flagging problem artists to keep track of certain issues, something that you need to come back to, you're going to flag and you want to remember that artist and easily come back to them without having to search for their name again, whatever it might be, and you can just keep track of that there. So that, tool or tip is all about using application statuses, tags, and flags to, organize and label your applications so that you can, maintain certain notes and things as you're getting ready for your event. The next topic we'll talk about is similar to this, but it's more about, customizing the event management table to kind of fit where you are in your stage of the process. So if you didn't know this already, the event management table we're looking at here, you can update and change what information you're viewing on this table by going to the table editor here on the right. And so you can have up to 8 fields or 8 columns display, and this might change depending on where you are in your process. Maybe in the application review stage, you are just really looking to have a quick glance at folks. Maybe it's their status, maybe it's you want their email address, maybe you don't really need their username. Booth number is not really applicable yet. You want to know their category, that would be good. Maybe you want their website, or maybe you want to know where they're from, so you can enable those there. Maybe you want to see if they have any related apps or if they submitted, multiple applications. So you can update that table, and your table will update as such so that you're getting information that is pertinent to you, maybe at that application stage or when you're reviewing initial entries. But if it's, after the jury and now you are really focusing on folks who are purchasing booths and assigning booth numbers, getting ready for the event, you might not need certain information, and you instead want to look at, an at-a-glance view of the booth number, see what payments they've made at a glance, anything else that, maybe you have collaborators that you want to make sure people are, showing up who's showing up to the booth, and just know you can only have 8. So if you see this save button grayed out, you're gonna have to get rid of another field, but you can save that and it will update the table so that you can have access to that booth number and additional fields. So my tip here is really to just know that that's there, because I know some folks don't know that they can edit this table, and really just customize it to what works for you and what you need reference to at certain periods of time, and just be able to swiftly access some information. I also want to mention here too that, these columns, a lot of them can be, let me pull up more applications here. I'll click view all. These headings here, if you're able to click them, you can kind of see the cursor change to clickable icon. You can click that once to sort ascending or descending. That will help you in certain cases. Some of them, like payments, you're not able to sort that there, but just know that you can sort this table certain ways, last name by maybe by when the application was received, certain things like that. I also want to mention that you can use the filters, and I've already kind of demonstrated this in other cases, but you can add multiple filters at a time to segment your list and get to a specific group of people. So let me clear this one. Maybe you want to see all artists in the photography category, and you also want to see anyone that has purchased in photography their deposit. Let's say you're collecting deposits and you want to do that. With deposits, it automatically creates a deposit tag to show that they've paid the deposit. So I can filter, in addition to photography, filter for the deposit tag, and that will bring up anyone that is in photography with the deposit tag. So that's just an example that you can add multiple filters here to find certain groups and segments within the groups of artists, depending on what you might be looking for. Before you get ready for your event, you might have certain notifications or emails you want to send to artists. So I'm just going to give a quick overview and also introduce a new feature regarding emailing artists. So, as you know, emailing artists is simple through the events communication section. And obviously, if you're getting ready for your event, by this stage, you probably already emailed your invites and your, for lack of a better term, rejection letters to artists and vendors. But don't forget to keep using this to update artists ahead of the event with, information about the event itself, setting up, load-in times, all that kind of good stuff. You might do that outside of ZAPP, and that's fine. But doing it in ZAPP also allows you to use some of the features that we have. So let's say you do have, an event update for your confirmed artists ahead of the dates, and you want to email them. So of course you just select the status. And then here's where you can filter based on certain things like tags or flags. So you can choose to include tags if you want to, let's say you want to email those mentors. So you're going to include the tagged applicants and only choose that mentor tag. So that would mean I'm only emailing those with the mentor tag. Or you can exclude it. Maybe I want to email everyone else and I want to exclude the mentors because they'll have some different information. So you can use that further. You can also do that with the flagged folks, either include or exclude them. Or if you just choose to send to everyone, you can move forward with that. And I'm not going to, go through this whole process start to finish, but just note that you can draft, your event updates to them. If you do have, a similar update year over year and you want to create an email template, that's a pretty neat idea. You can create up to now 25 templates and save them in your account, and that would carry over to every event that you're doing in ZAPP. For example, I have here just to demonstrate, an event update template so that I can load in just, my predetermined verbiage for this kind of event update, and I would go in and insert certain event dates and times. So this is a really easy way to fill in this information that might be duplicative year over year. You can also do things such as insert and merge data that we have available. So maybe you're emailing the waitlist folks and you're giving an update and you want to show the waitlist number. Maybe you are emailing your confirmed artists and you want to show their booth numbers, even if it's just for a quick reference so they don't forget what booth number they have. Stuff like that. You can, show your contact information and things that so that they have all the information available for them. And that's pretty much it. I'm not going to go through the preview and send. It's pretty self-explanatory. But I do want to talk about how we have a new feature in ZAPP where artists can now receive the emails in their ZAPP account. So previously, you'd send an email and the artist would get that in their email inbox, and that's still the case. They'll still see all the emails in their inbox. However, we built a notification center now in the artist side. So I'm going to log into my artist account here and show you this. Let me just get there. So it's here at the top. It just says notifications. It looks like any other notification center for any other platform you might be using. And it'll show an icon if they have an unread message. And they can go here and it will list all the emails that an event has sent them. So not only will your message get to artists in their email inboxes, it will come here as well. And when we released this update, I think it was just a week ago today, actually, we did copy over about a year, maybe 2 years worth of emails in here. So some artists do have a lot in there, but all emails going forward will be added to this notification for folks. And any bolded message here or unread, and an artist can click on it and view the email that was sent. And this is just, some demo messages here, but you'll notice that it is read-only, so artists are simply just getting a copy of this email in their account. They're not able to reply to you, obviously. They would have to email you from their email in order to do that, but this just gives them a way to go to ZAPP to view all the messages, and let's say an artist, heard about an event update being sent out from a different artist and they didn't see that message for whatever reason. Maybe they contact you and they say, hey, I didn't get that email. You can tell them, well, now you can go to ZAPP and come to the notifications and get a copy of that email so you have all that information we sent right there in your ZAPP account. So this is a great new tool to be able to be assured that artists are getting the emails that you are sending them. And this will apply for emails that are sent via the communication tool like we just showed. It will also include emails that are sent individually. And so this would be the case where you might be going to an application and you want to email just one artist. You can just click on their email from the application page. And that will open up an individual emailer where you can send them an email just to them. And so that would also be recorded here in the notification center. So I hope that is an interesting new feature for you, and It's pretty neat for artists. We're starting to, make sure artists know that they can come here to view emails. And so you can also start to educate your artists about finding information that is being sent out in the notification center in ZAPP. The next tool I want to talk about, or a couple of tools, is the gallery and or booth map to display to the public who will be at your festival and maybe where. And so I do just kind of want to talk about these two add-on features that might be useful for you and how to kind of prepare that ahead of your event. So first of all, the gallery is the most common option for, having the public be able to come and look at what artists and the artwork that will be displayed at the festival. And it's a really neat feature. It's pretty easy to use as well. So this add-on you can get for $200 for your event. And what it will do is it will automatically generate a gallery of your participating artists, which means, artists that are in the confirmed or accepted statuses. And they'll be able to view their work from there, get some more information about the artists. So when you activate the gallery, you'll see a gallery details tab in your event editor. And you just have to come in here and display whichever settings you want to display, when the event will take place. You have social media URLs you can include. You can include a gallery summary. And I'll show you what this looks like. Basically, you have this URL that you can then share with the public, put it on social media, all that good stuff, so that anyone attending the festival or even just the artist can come in here and view the artists. And you'll see it's a very nice view. We've only have a few artists in here at the moment, but it will display all the artists that are opted into being featured in the gallery. And you'll see, you can view the images, you can click through a certain artist set of images that were on their application. You can go to visit their website if that's included, and just kind of get to know the artist a little bit more. You'll also see it includes, the booth number, so they can find them pretty easily at the event. And folks can come in here and search for an artist, see if their favorite artist is in town that weekend, see artists from certain locations. You can filter by certain mediums if folks are only interested in certain mediums there. So it's a really neat tool, and not only can you use that URL to share with your patrons, you can take this embed code here, to embed it into your website, if that's something you're able to do. And you can just include that right in your, participating artists section of your website, and folks will be able to view that gallery. The other great thing about the gallery is that it will update in real time. If an artist withdraws, it will take them out. If you've changed their status to withdrawn, it will update automatically if you move someone from the wait list to the confirmed status. And so artists and patrons are able to see, using the gallery, who is currently confirmed for the event. So it's a great, promotional tool to gain interest, and it can be useful for folks to navigate the event. The other thing that's pretty similar to this, but kind of includes a little bit of a different workflow, is the booth map. The booth map is part of the booth management add-on. So the booth management add-on includes booth requests and the booth map. But the booth map specifically is, can be used for the same purpose of uploading, a map of your site and assigning artists to specific locations so that, it can be a more geographical display of the artists at your event. So let's head to the booth management section and I'll show you what this looks like. So what you would do is you would upload a file or an image of your site map. So obviously it'll look different than this. This is just our demo map that has been uploaded. And once you upload the booth map, you'll be able to click assign booth, and then you'll have your little, target arrow there. You can click on the, location on that site map, and then you would assign that booth, that location, to an artist. And you put in whatever booth number they're assigned, and then you would find the artist in your list here and figure out, you would assign them there. You can then design the pin that you want. So if they're, maybe you want to use specific icons to represent certain mediums, If you have a really big map with a lot of tiny little booths, you can use this small little pin to be able to assign multiple booths next to each other, even though it is kind of small. Or if you have a nice open spread like I do here, you could just use a big one and then assign certain colors to your pin. You can design them however you want, and you would just save that, and it would be added there. And then when you click that, you can view the artist that is assigned to that location. It also creates a list down below. And what this is really useful for is if you choose to display it to participants or to the public, you can click on View Public Booth Map. And this would open, pretty much you can take this URL here as well, and you can share this with your patrons or your artists. Some folks might not use it to really share it to patrons, but it definitely can be used that way, at least for artists to be able to figure out where they're being located and who they're next to. They can use this booth map, and folks can click on the pins and see the information about the artists. They can also view it by the list if they're looking for a specific artist and they want to find out what booth number they're assigned to and where they are on the map. They can use that as a list as well. So that's just a quick overview of the booth map feature. Again, that's part of our booth management add-on. And we are working on, some changes to this feature to make it a little bit more user-friendly. Things like being able to move pins, being able to upload a pretty large sign map, since we do have some pretty large festivals that use this. So, we're working on some updates, but I think for now it's a really great tool to be able to, show to the world where your artists will be. And again, just like the gallery, it's all pulling information from ZAPP, so it's taking the legwork out of having to individually label a map, and being able to, swiftly create this for your participants. So if you are interested in either of these add-ons, what you can do is go to the Help Center, just click Help, and then click on Add-ons, and it will pull up some information about the add-ons and the pricing, but then this form is what you'll want to fill out. So once you agree to those terms, it will show you the form, and just submit that form that lets our team know, which add-on you're interested in, and they'll get that all set up for you, and you can use that for your event. All right, the fifth and final tool that I want to share to help you prepare for your event is the ZAPP Onsite tool. And this is used for ad event scoring, and it can really help you with, again, doing a workflow that you might be doing every year, and making it a little bit easier for you. So if you don't know, ZAPP Onsite allows at festival juries or judges to have a mobile responsive system to identify award winners. How it works is a juror or jury, or I should say adjudicator, that's the term that's used in ZAPP, can log into ZAPP Onsite and walk the festival, view the booths, and score the artwork and the artists on their mobile device or tablet. It's designed for, mobile devices specifically, and they can enter scores and comments, and that will sync directly with ZAPP to help the organizer, to help you determine the award winners at the event itself. And like I said, it pulls all the information from ZAPP, the application data, the artwork images, so jurors can verify those artworks against the application to make sure the correct artwork is being displayed at the festival. So I'm going to give a quick overview and demo of what it's like to use Onsite, but just know that if you do use Onsite and you need a more in-depth tutorial, we have a bunch of resources to help you with that. So let me just give a quick overview here. So in ZAPP, if you have Onsite, you'll see this little Onsite tab here. And when you come in here, you will just have to go through these steps to set up ahead of your event. So you'll put in the dates that the adjudication will be taking place. So this is most likely your event dates, or maybe it's just the first day of your event, whatever it may be. Adjudicators will only have access to Onsite during these dates, so just make sure it's accurate. You can upload a sitemap for your adjudicators that will give them access within ZAPP Onsite on their device to be able to access the map pretty swiftly. And then here is where you're going to assign the adjudicators to score your event at the festival. And we use the term adjudicators to just differentiate them from jurors, which is which are used to, jury your event itself. But your list of jurors that you have for your event and for your licensee within ZAPP will be listed on this left box here. And if you want to assign them to be an adjudicator within Onsite, you would just click the arrow, you would highlight their name and click the arrow to the right so that they become selected for this event. If you need to set up someone new that hasn't been a juror but they're going to be an adjudicator, you would just click Add Adjudicator and you would add them to that there. And then they would you would make sure they're under the selected box. And once all your adjudicators are assigned, you can continue and move to the next stage, which is booth assignment. So some adjudicators might be assigned to a specific set of booths or a certain medium category and will only be able to score those certain booths. Maybe you have adjudicators that score all booths, and that's great too. You just have to assign them to that. So once I click my adjudicator, you'll see we've got some artists that appear here, and you'll assign the artists. These are only listed here because these are artists that are in either the accepted or confirmed status and have a booth number assigned to them. If they yet to have a booth number assigned to them, maybe they haven't purchased their booth fee yet, they won't be included. But I recommend setting up Onsite after all that is done and all your artists are confirmed and have booth numbers assigned. You would come in here and you would, if you're doing it individually, you would click on this X to turn it into a check mark, thus assigning it to the adjudicator, or you can just select them all and it will assign them all to that adjudicator. And then you click Assign Booths to save those assignments so that this adjudicator here would be assigned to those specific artists. The last step of setting up Onsite is setting your scoring schema. Maybe you just have a certain, maybe you just have one range. Maybe it's a 1 to 10 scale for them to assign the booth, where 10 is the highest and 1 is the lowest. Maybe you just have a yes, no, maybe, similar to the ZAPP jury process. If you do have, a larger scoring schema, let's say 100, but you want to do certain categories, you can set up certain categories. In which case you might have, a description for the category of like creativity, and that would account for 50%, and you would assign that there. And then maybe you have another one that's more skill or technical ability, and for the sake of simplicity, that's also 50%. This just has to add up to 100 or whatever is your top score, and you'll be good to go. But maybe you have multiple categories that are more nuanced than that, and you can do that as well. So once you have saved that, everything is complete. And then the next stage would simply be for the adjudicators at the event to log into Onsite. So they would go to this site, which is onsite.zapplication.org. And the login, this, obviously would not be, oops, here, I have to figure out this. Oh, I know why. I need to set my date to today's date. The ZAPP Onsite system can be used for, excuse me here. It can be used on their mobile devices, tablets. Obviously, we're looking at it from a desktop view, but it's pretty similar to what it would look like on a phone or something like that. Let me make sure this is correct. We have today's date. Let's make sure it's. I'm going to be able to show you this. We're assigned here. Oh, it is a little bit. I have the wrong adjudicator account here. Let me log out here. Okay, I'm logged into the right adjudicator account now, and so what it would look like is they would click on the event, and this would pull up the scoring page. So what it looks like here, you have some filter or sort options to be able to, filter the list, but essentially adjudicators would come in here, they can click on the booth, they can show the thumbnail of the artwork that was displayed on their application to, verify that the artwork at the event is the same that they applied with, and you can see they'll be able to view that there. They can view the description of materials and the technique that was given to them on the application. They can flag it. Maybe the artist wasn't there and they wanted to talk to them, so they flag it to remind them to come back, or just for whatever use they have. and then they'll enter their score. So here's those 2 categories we created, but it would look however it is set up as, and they would give them a certain score. They can use the little sliders, or they can enter their own score, whatever that is, and they can enter any comments and put any information that they want in it, give it the score that they have, and then save it, and you'll see it gets submitted on site there. Oops. And save that. So in a nutshell, that's a very quick demonstration of what it looks like to an adjudicator. But essentially, this allows the administrator back here on onsite to come to the scores and be able to see the scores that are given. Once they're here and all of the artists have been scored, they can either display it based on, the average booth score or within certain categories, and then come in here and just swiftly see, here's our top artist, here's our top 3 artists, whatever it might be. Again, I know that was a pretty quick demonstration of the process, but once you get the hang of it, it's a pretty easy tool to be able to do that on-site scoring. So yeah, let's see, any other information I have. If you do want to sign up for Onsite, that one is a $200 add-on, and you can fill out that same form I showed before, or just email our team and let us know you want to add an add-on, and we can do that for you. That wraps up today's webinar about tools that can help prepare you for your event. I hope you learned some good tips, and I hope you have a wonderful and safe event season if you do have one coming up. And if you have questions specific to your event or feedback from our team, you can email us here, zaphelp@brcreativewest.org. Thanks again for joining me. I hope to see you at our next webinar.